Hey guys, Lena Tarot Down Under is back again. I've only been gone for a few days and all hell's broken loose. So I have to do a reading on Steve Bannon and Trump and the book Fire and Fury. So as we all know, Bannon got in Trump's ear early on in the campaign and told him that there were working people in America who lived payday to payday. Now, I'm sure this was news. Trump's never met anyone in that category. And not only that, if Trump got on a plane and went to any of these places in the heartland for 2 hours and managed to convince them that he cared and that he was representing them, they'd vote for him. So he has to be eternally in Bannon's debt. So what is going to be revealed about their relationship now, particularly around the book? I never thought I'd read a book by Steve Bannon, but you know what, I might even have to do that. So let's see what is happening with these two. Bannon and Trump, the book. Bannon and Trump and the book. Bannon, Trump and the book. Oh. Okay, I'm going to do a reading past, present and future about their relationship. So let's see what comes up here. Okay. Laying out the cards. Okay, everyone. Here we go. Now, those of you who watch Kirsten Langston, Third Eye Champagne, her reading on Bannon is exceptionally brilliant, and she describes him as a Death Eater, and as a reference to the Harry Potter novels. I couldn't agree more. He is a Death Eater, but also he could also be Voldemort, the Prince of Darkness, and only motivated by destruction. So let's see what's going on here. As their combined signifying card, we have the Four of Wands. Willpower. They're both very strong men, and to a certain extent it was their willpower that pushed them onto the stage, that pushed them together. They admired each other in terms of just going out and doing stuff, and it worked for them in the big picture. I see these two figures here as both these men in question. And reminding you with this card, here are the mere mortals underneath who aren't part of the celebration. Okay? Now, in their past, we have here the Queen of Cups, which represents their emotional relationship. So over and above what they were doing together in the campaign, emotionally they were very close. So we know this, there's no surprises there. I'm not going to spend long on the past because we've all lived it. The world, they conquered the world. Okay, so this is again the condensed interpretation of what this card means here, because I'd rather concentrate on these. So they pulled it off. They absolutely pulled it off. But as I often point out with the World card, there's also this containment or entrapment in terms of what it means when you are a world player. So it's a blessing and a curse to some extent, being visible to the whole world with everything you do. Okay. Also in their recent past, you have the Knight of Cups. Now emotionally, they're connected. Emotionally, they're still connected, because it's like any relationship, even if it turns bad, it still affects you because it's an emotional relationship. This isn't a cold, hard business liaison. They were emotionally invested in each other. So with this card here, in this context, with the Knight on the horse, I see this in a way as a bit of a divergence from that. If you asked either of them, I think Trump would see it as himself, you know, going forth with the chalice, and Bannon would certainly see himself as going forward, fighting the good fight too. Okay, so it's a funny, ambivalent card in this position, but that's how I see it, that each man would see himself as the important one in the relationship. Present, and I think very present in terms of the last few days and on. Oh, swords. There's an element of violence, obviously, with swords, as well as the usual interpretations of intellect and so forth, and being stabbed, but also mega stress. So Trump's got the stress of being betrayed, as he would see it, by Bannon. And Bannon's got the stress of, gulp, have I gone too far with this book, because I might be stabbed in the back now, which could happen in the form of the truly evil Mercers, particularly Rebecca Mercer, funding Breitbart, etc. So again, they've both got reasons to be worried and unhappy. In the centre of the reading, which is quite curious in a way, is the Temperance card. The Winged Angel, the Two Cups, it's the conscious and the unconscious, trying to reconcile or integrate opposing forces. You've got the sun coming out over the mountain. In other words, it's generally quite a positive card. But because of the nature of this reading, and it is twinned by the gut-wrenching misery of the swords, and followed by the pierced heart, what does it mean in this central position? So my tendency is to regard this card here as a facade, if you like. They're both going to try and appear reasonable. They're both going to try and appear angelic in a way. Oh, the other person let me down. No, the other person let me down. I'm really the virtuous angel trying to just get things done for America. So I see them both as actors in this sort of charade of everything's all right. And it's blatantly not all right, guys. And you can't hide from the tarot. Swords and swords. So the pierced heart, not mysterious. I'm assuming you're all au fait enough with this imagery to understand what that means. So they both feel deeply wounded in the heart, because ironically, even though they come across as these tough guys, they're emotionally wet. They are emotionally driven, and they're just damp, immature boys who really are ruled by their emotions in many ways. So this is absolutely harrowing and very destructive for both of them. I don't know that either of them will really recover. Trump from Bannon's betrayal, as he would see it, and Bannon, because I think he has overstepped the mark, and I think this is the beginning of the end for Bannon. So these two are now in quite dire emotional straits. Near future, the Fool. They share this card. Now, as I've said before, with the Fool, it can be a highly enlightened individual who is completely unworried by what life will bring them and boldly steps out, but because of these other cards, it represents on a more mundane level foolish behaviour, walking off a cliff behaviour. The Three of Wands, their second to last card, commerce and trade, international commerce and trade. They have both been engaged at a very high level with this. It's also something else they share. But the Fool has in fact sabotaged the ability of them to be international figures in the future. I also see, in the light of this reading, that this figure with the backs to the wands also means I think they're being sapped of the willpower that has driven them in this point, not just in the campaign but in their lives. So they've both gone out there and forced their way through, and they're so emotionally damaged as people and now emotionally damaging each other that I think this represents quite a, if you like, an ending, another ending that is coming up for them. They had individually, if they hadn't gone into politics to this extent, they would both be wealthy men and they'd both have very comfortable lives. But because their egos drove them to go into the political game, they're actually going to fall off the cliff. I must say I'm secretly very pleased. Their outcome card, the Devil. Now, I was asking about the relationship with Trump and Bannon and the book. The Devil card, I mean, any reader might have a slightly different interpretation in the context. Is Bannon the devil betraying their friendship, etc.? I don't see it quite like that. I see them as being chained together, regardless of Bannon leaving the White House, and this devil figure as more an overarching figure representing their own selfish base, very base chakra, if you like, drive to make money and trample on people. So I see the devil figure as overriding both of them. I think they're shackled, and I think they'll go down together because the weight of the chains will simply be too heavy. So I really think, in terms of the book, that regardless of what happens from now on, and there'll be more revelations and the whole Mueller investigation, etc., in a funny way, and I was just thinking about this last night, the book is what's going to sink them in a way that the other legal things almost can't, because in the heartland, the Trump heartland, enormous effort has been made to discredit the Mueller investigation, and whatever legal repercussions come out of the Mueller case, the heartland can avert their gaze and say, oh, these guys were done wrong. But the book sort of speaks truth to power. So it's the little snippets and quotes out of the book that show what people really think about Trump that I think will be more damaging in a funny way than some of the more big, heavy stuff. In any event, they are aligned with the devil. Well, I had to get that off my chest. Now, regular viewers, I just want to let you know I'm going to start a 3-part series starting today on the atmosphere, or if you like, inside certain domains. So I'm going to start with inside the marriage, of Trump and Melania, and I want to do inside the White House and inside Trump's legal team. Aren't you glad you're not on that team? All right, so that's my Insider series coming up very shortly. Thanks for tuning in. Bye from Australia.